What would you do if the people you trusted most turned out to be your worst nightmare? It's a question that seems distant, even impossible, to answer, until it isn't. The chilling reality of betrayal takes on a harrowing depth when the very people meant to protect you become the source of unimaginable pain. For Alexis Crawford, a 21-year-old student at Clark Atlanta University, that nightmare became her reality. On a crisp November day, law enforcement officers scoured a quiet park on the outskirts of Atlanta. Beneath layers of dirt and leaves, they found what no one wanted to believe was true, the lifeless body of a young woman who had once been the heart of her family and the light among her friends. This discovery would unravel a story so shocking, so gut-wrenching, that it left an entire community grappling with questions of trust, loyalty, and the fragility of human connections. This is a story of trust broken in the most unimaginable way, a friendship turned deadly, and a courtroom drama that left the nation reeling. It's a story that forces us to confront the unthinkable. We all believe that our friends have our backs, that they are our safe haven. But what happens when that trust is shattered? When the person you share your life with becomes the source of your undoing? Alexis Crawford thought she was safe. In her own home, surrounded by people she trusted, her roommate, her confidant, her so-called best friend, she let her guard down. She believed in the bonds of friendship, the connections that were supposed to offer comfort and security. She was wrong. What unfolds next is a narrative steeped in betrayal and violence, leading to a courtroom where justice was demanded, yet the scars left behind could never truly be healed. This story isn't just about Alexis. It's about the universal fear of misplaced trust and the devastation that betrayal leaves in its wake. It's a story that reminds us that even the strongest connections can harbor unimaginable secrets. We will delve into every aspect of this case. We'll explore Alexis's life, her dreams, and the relationships that ultimately led to her untimely death. We'll walk through the investigation, the trial, and the aftermath that continues to haunt those who knew her. This is not just a retelling of events, it's an invitation to reflect on the fragility of trust, the cost of betrayal, and the courage it takes to demand justice in the face of unimaginable loss. Stay with us as we unravel the story of Alexis Crawford, a story that is both heartbreaking and deeply human. Alexis Crawford was the kind of young woman who lit up a room with her presence. Her smile was infectious, her laugh warm and inviting. Friends and family describe her as vibrant, a force of positivity that drew people toward her. At 21, she was a student at Clark Atlanta University, pursuing her dreams with determination and grit. Ambition was at the core of Alexis's character. She saw her education not just as a pathway to a career, but as a means to make a difference. Those closest to her knew she had big plans to leave her mark on the world and uplift the people around her. Alexis was kind-hearted and deeply trusting, the type of person who went out of her way to help others, often placing their needs above her own. She was also incredibly close to her family, especially her parents and siblings, who were her biggest cheerleaders. Alexis's life was filled with love and support, and for her, the future seemed full of endless possibilities. Life at Clark Atlanta University was exciting and fast-paced, but Alexis thrived amidst the challenges of balancing classes, friendships, and the freedom of living on her own. She shared an apartment near campus with Jordan Jones, a fellow student who became more than just a roommate. Jordan was Alexis's confidant, her go-to person in moments of celebration and struggle. They shared laughs, secrets, and the daily routines of college life. Alexis loved the independence that came with living off campus. She was building a life for herself, one where she could focus on her studies while enjoying the camaraderie of close friendships. Her bond with Jordan was especially meaningful, a sisterhood forged through proximity and trust. But Alexis's aspirations weren't limited to her academic life. She had dreams of one day helping others, of using her education to create a better world. She was known for her drive and her generosity, always putting her best foot forward. Jordan Jones wasn't just Alexis's roommate, she was one of her closest friends. They spent countless hours together, from late-night study sessions to sharing meals at the apartment. Jordan seemed like the kind of person who understood Alexis in a way that only a best friend could. However, their shared space wasn't always quiet or just the two of them. Jordan's boyfriend, Baron Brantley, was a frequent presence at the apartment. He was often around, and though Alexis didn't have much of a personal relationship with him, his presence was part of their daily lives. At first glance, the dynamics between the three seemed typical of young adults navigating the ups and downs of relationships and friendships. Alexis was focused on her studies and future, while Jordan balanced her time between her friendship with Alexis and her relationship with Baron. But as time went on, this seemingly normal arrangement would take a darker turn, laying the groundwork for the betrayal and violence that would follow. Alexis had no way of knowing that the relationships she trusted most would soon lead to unimaginable consequences, shattering the world she had worked so hard to build. In the days leading up to her tragic death, Alexis made a decision that would forever alter the course of her life. One evening, an incident occurred that left her shaken and afraid. Baron Brantley, her roommate Jordan Jones's boyfriend, allegedly assaulted her in their shared apartment. Alexis, who had always been strong and resilient, did what many would hesitate to do. She filed a report with the police. It was an act of bravery, one that spoke to Alexis's determination to stand up for herself despite the risks. The report detailed unwanted advances and physical contact, a moment that left her feeling violated in the very place she called home. But this decision, though courageous, came with consequences. The atmosphere in the apartment shifted immediately. What was once a space of familiarity and comfort became a tense and uneasy environment. Alexis's report wasn't just a statement against Baron, it created a wedge between her and Jordan, her supposed best friend. The fracture between Alexis and Jordan was sharp and immediate. Jordan, instead of offering support or empathy, took Baron's side. She dismissed Alexis's pain and concerns, choosing instead to protect her boyfriend. In the small confines of their shared apartment, the tension became suffocating. Alexis found herself increasingly isolated. The friendship she had relied on for stability and comfort crumbled before her eyes. Jordan's actions sent a clear message: her loyalty lay elsewhere, and Alexis was no longer a part of that circle. The toxic environment escalated quickly. Alexis, who once found solace in her home, began to feel unsafe and unwelcome. Jordan and Baron's bond grew stronger, but their solidarity came at Alexis's expense. What should have been a place of refuge turned into a battleground, with Alexis navigating the fallout of her brave decision amidst growing hostility. As days passed, the tension in the apartment only grew. Behind closed doors, Jordan and Baron's discussions took on a new, chilling tone. The betrayal deepened as their anger and frustration toward Alexis festered. What exactly they discussed late that night remains chilling to this day. The details of their conversations are sparse, but the evidence points to a dark conspiracy forming between the pair. Suspense lingers in the unanswered questions: how did they reach such a horrific conclusion? What led them to believe that the solution to their problems was to silence Alexis permanently? Hints of their plan began to emerge, subtle at first, but unmistakable in hindsight. Conversations between Jordan and Baron became more secretive, their actions more calculated. In the presence of Alexis, their behavior was colder, their hostility barely concealed. The betrayal was no longer confined to words or tension, it was evolving into something far more dangerous. Alexis, unaware of the depths of their plotting, continued to navigate the toxic environment, all while staying true to the bravery she had shown from the beginning. The seeds of what would become an unspeakable act were being sown, and the betrayal that had started as a fracture in friendship was quickly spiraling into a tragedy that no one could have anticipated. October 30th, 2019, started as an ordinary day for Alexis Crawford. She attended her classes, spoke with her family, and went about her usual routine. However, as the day progressed, the tension in her apartment grew heavier, a suffocating atmosphere fueled by lingering resentment and unresolved anger. That evening, Alexis and her roommate Jordan Jones were in the apartment with Baron Brantley. What began as an argument between Alexis and Jordan quickly escalated into a heated confrontation. Words exchanged were sharp and cutting, laced with betrayal and frustration. Investigative reports later revealed that the argument stemmed from Alexis's earlier decision to report Barron's assault, a decision that had fractured their fragile dynamic. As voices rose, the situation spiraled out of control. What was once a toxic environment became something far more dangerous, as the argument took a violent and irreversible turn. At the height of the confrontation, Baron Brantley stepped in. His anger, already simmering from Alexis's accusations, turned to violence. He lunged at Alexis, his hands wrapping around her neck as he began to strangle her. Alexis struggled, but Baron's grip tightened, cutting off her air. As horrifying as his actions were, what made the crime even more unthinkable was Jordan's involvement. Instead of stopping the attack or calling for help, Jordan Jones joined in. She placed a plastic bag over Alexis's head, suffocating her further as Baron continued to strangle her. The calculated coldness of their actions was later described by investigators as shocking and deliberate. Alexis's final moments were spent fighting for her life, betrayed by the very people she trusted most. After Alexis's lifeless body lay before them, Baron and Jordan began the next phase of their horrifying plan. They wrapped her body, cleaned the apartment, and loaded her into a vehicle. Under the cover of darkness, they drove to a park in DeKalb County, a quiet, wooded area where they believed no one would find her. There, they dug a shallow grave and left Alexis's body, buried beneath leaves and dirt. The act of disposing of her body was methodical, devoid of any visible remorse or hesitation. What's even more chilling is what happened next. The pair returned to the apartment and attempted to carry on with their lives as though nothing had happened. Jordan continued attending classes and interacting with friends, while Baron stayed by her side, maintaining a facade of normalcy. But beneath the surface, the weight of their actions loomed large. Their attempts to conceal the crime would eventually unravel, leading to a discovery that shocked an entire community. Alexis's murder wasn't just a loss of life, it was a betrayal so profound that it left scars on everyone who knew her. Her killer's actions, calculated and cold, ensured that the tragedy would remain etched in the hearts and minds of all who heard her story. What would you do if someone you loved disappeared without a trace? How far would you go to find them? For Alexis Crawford's family, those questions became their reality on October 31, 2019. When Alexis didn't return calls or messages, her parents, siblings, and friends immediately knew something was wrong. Alexis had always been diligent about keeping in touch, and silence from her was deeply unsettling. Her mother, Tammy Crawford, and her sister, Monica Wright, contacted Jordan Jones, Alexis's roommate, to check on her whereabouts. Jordan claimed that Alexis had left the apartment the night before and hadn't returned. This vague explanation offered little comfort. Desperation set in, and after hours of failed attempts to locate her, the family called the Atlanta Police Department to report Alexis missing. The search began with urgency. Flyers with Alexis's smiling face flooded social media and the streets of Atlanta. Law enforcement conducted interviews, reviewed phone records, and retraced her last known steps, while Alexis's family organized searches and pleaded for information from the public. But as the days stretched into a week, the fear of foul play began to grow. The investigation quickly honed in on Alexis's inner circle. Jordan Jones, her roommate and the last person to see her alive, became a person of interest. Investigators were struck by Jordan's detached demeanor during questioning. Her story lacked clarity, and her claim that Alexis had voluntarily left the apartment didn't align with her family's account of her character. Baron Brantley, Jordan's boyfriend, also came under scrutiny. As someone who frequented the apartment and had been accused of assaulting Alexis just days prior, his presence loomed large in the investigation. The turning point came when detectives obtained surveillance footage from the apartment complex. The video revealed Jordan and Baron leaving the building late on the night of Alexis's disappearance. They were seen carrying a large bin and what appeared to be other items. This discovery contradicted Jordan's initial statements. She claimed Alexis had walked out on her own, but the footage told a different story. The bin raised immediate red flags. What were they carrying, and why were they acting in secret during those late hours? As inconsistencies in Jordan and Barron's stories grew, investigators intensified their efforts. Phone records showed calls and messages between the two during the critical hours of Alexis's disappearance. Witnesses from the apartment complex reported hearing arguments and loud noises on the night in question. Under pressure, Jordan's answers became more evasive, while Barron grew visibly agitated during questioning. The mounting evidence painted a picture of foul play, and investigators began to piece together a timeline of what might have happened. Eventually, the weight of evidence became too much for Barron to bear. During an intense interrogation, he broke down and confessed. His admission was chilling. He detailed the argument that escalated into violence, how he strangled Alexis, and how Jordan helped suffocate her. Barron also revealed what they had done afterward. They had cleaned the apartment, placed Alexis's body in a bin, and transported her to a remote location. His confession gave investigators the information they needed to find Alexis. Acting on Barron's confession, law enforcement was directed to Exchange Park, a wooded area in DeKalb County known for its trails and quiet seclusion. Officers combed through the area, following Barron's specific directions. It was there, beneath a shallow grave covered with leaves and dirt, that they found Alexis. The discovery was heartbreaking. The officers who found her were visibly shaken, a testament to the horror of the crime. Forensics confirmed what everyone feared: it was Alexis Crawford. The remains were positively identified through medical examination and personal items found with her. The news devastated Alexis's family, who had been holding on to hope that she might still be alive. News of Alexis's death and the involvement of Jordan Jones and Barron Brantley sent shockwaves through Atlanta and beyond. Alexis's family was consumed by grief, her parents struggling to comprehend how someone they had welcomed into their daughter's life could commit such a heinous act. The betrayal by Jordan, someone Alexis had trusted as a friend, was a source of outrage and disbelief. Vigils were held in Alexis's honor, with hundreds of people gathering to remember her vibrant spirit and demand justice. The community mourned alongside the Crawfords, their heartbreak amplified by the senselessness of the crime. Alexis's story became a rallying cry for justice, a reminder of the fragility of trust, and a tragic example of how betrayal can have devastating consequences. The trial of Jordan Jones and Barron Brantley has yet to take place, but the pre-trial proceedings have already shed light on the emotional and legal complexity of the case. Since their arrests in November 2019, both defendants have been held at the Fulton County Jail, facing charges that include murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and concealing a death. The courtroom hearings leading up to the trial have been marked by tense exchanges and heartbreaking moments. Alexis Crawford's family has been present at every step, their grief palpable as they face the individuals accused of taking their daughter's life. During these proceedings, the prosecution has outlined a case built on extensive evidence, including surveillance footage, Barron Brantley's confession, and forensic findings that connect both defendants to Alexis's death. Witness testimony has further underscored the betrayal at the heart of the case, painting a picture of trust shattered in the most horrific way. The defense teams for Jordan Jones and Barron Brantley have attempted to shift narratives in their favor. Jordan's legal team has sought to minimize her role, suggesting that she was manipulated or coerced by Barron. Barron's defense has leaned on claims of impulsive action rather than premeditation, arguing that the murder was a tragic escalation rather than a planned act. For Alexis's family, each hearing has been an emotional ordeal. Her parents, Tammy Crawford and Bobby Wright, have spoken openly about their anguish and their determination to see justice served. They've sat in the courtroom, reliving the details of their daughter's final moments, while the individuals accused of her murder remained stoic and detached. As of now, neither Jordan Jones nor Barron Brantley has been sentenced, as the trial has faced significant delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic and other procedural setbacks. Both defendants remain in custody, denied bond, as they await their day in court. The lack of resolution has been a source of deep frustration and pain for Alexis's family. Tammy Crawford has expressed her desire for swift justice, emphasizing the lasting impact her daughter's death has had on their lives. While the community awaits the trial's outcome, the case continues to draw attention as a tragic reminder of the devastating consequences of betrayal and violence. For Alexis's family, the hope remains that justice will one day bring a measure of closure, though nothing can truly heal the wound left by her loss. The loss of Alexis Crawford left a profound and permanent scar on her family and friends. For her parents, Tammy Crawford and Bobby Wright, the grief has been immeasurable. They've spoken about the unbearable pain of losing their daughter in such a brutal and senseless way. Alexis was more than a student or a friend. She was a beacon of hope for her family, a young woman with dreams of making a difference in the world. Her siblings, particularly her sister Monica Wright, who had been so close to Alexis, struggled to come to terms with the betrayal that led to her death. Knowing that someone Alexis trusted, her own roommate Jordan Jones, played a role in her murder has deepened their sorrow. Alexis's friends at Clark Atlanta University also faced the emotional aftermath. Many were left questioning how such a horrific act could happen within their community. The trust and safety they once felt on campus were shaken, leaving an atmosphere of caution and reflection. In response to Alexis's tragic death, the university implemented efforts to raise awareness about personal safety and the importance of reporting concerning behavior. Campus organizations have hosted discussions and workshops focused on trust, safety, and recognizing red flags in relationships and friendships. While these steps are a positive outcome, they serve as a painful reminder of the loss that prompted them. The story of Alexis Crawford forces us all to reflect on the nature of trust and betrayal. Trust is a cornerstone of every relationship, whether it's with family, friends, or roommates. But Alexis's story raises difficult questions. Could you ever suspect your best friend of betrayal? How do we truly know who to trust? Her tragic end underscores the importance of vigilance, even in our closest relationships. While no one should live in constant suspicion, Alexis's story reminds us to pay attention to warning signs and to trust our instincts when something feels wrong. As the community continues to honor Alexis's memory, her story serves as a cautionary tale about the fragility of trust and the devastating consequences of betrayal. It's a story that invites us to cherish the bonds we have, to value open communication, and to always advocate for our safety and well-being. For those who loved Alexis, the grief may never fully fade, but their determination to seek justice and keep her memory alive is a testament to the depth of their love. As her family continues to navigate life without her, they remind us all of the power of resilience and the enduring impact of a life cut far too short. Alexis's legacy now lives in the lessons her story teaches and the hope that her memory will inspire others to protect themselves and those they care about. Alexis's story is one of heartbreak, betrayal, and unimaginable loss. It's a tragedy that shattered a family, stunned a community, and left us all grappling with the fragility of trust. Let her story serve as a reminder of the value of human life and the devastating impact of violence. Alexis Crawford's life was taken far too soon, but her memory lives on as a call for justice and a plea for vigilance in our own lives. As we close this chapter, we invite you to reflect on the lessons learned from Alexis's story. If this case has touched your heart or opened your eyes, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. Start a conversation about the importance of trust, the warning signs of toxic relationships, and how we can support victims of violence in our communities. Together, we can keep Alexis's memory alive and ensure that her story inspires change. If you or someone you know is in a dangerous situation, don't hesitate to reach out for help, because no one should face betrayal or violence alone. Before we end, consider this haunting question: what would Alexis's life have been like if those she trusted most hadn't betrayed her? What dreams could she have fulfilled, what joy could she have brought to her family, and what difference could she have made in the world? These are questions we'll never have answers to, but they remind us of the importance of protecting the ones we love and holding others accountable for their actions. If you found this video insightful, please subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. By staying informed, we can work together to create a safer and more compassionate world. Thank you for watching.